Today on the World Triathlon podcast, we catch up with New Zealand's Ryan Sissons. The two-time Olympian announced his retirement in September after a brilliant career spanning nearly 15 years at the top of the sport. So thank you, Ryan, for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I didn't realise if you retire, you still get to come on these sort of shows. So yeah, pretty happy to be on here.
Where are you at the moment? And you know, since making the decision, how's life changed?
Yeah, I'm at home in Cambridge in New Zealand. So yeah, I've been here. I haven't left since I got back from Mooloolaba, which seems like quite a long time ago, and my life has changed a fair bit since then too. But no, I've been really fortunate to be able to be at home and enjoy, just home comforts. But yeah, I mean, I guess a lot has changed for me over that time, and decided that it was time for me to retire and move on to the next stage of my life. And I've, retired on a Thursday and started work the next week on a Wednesday. So it's been a really quick transition into working lifestyle, but I've really enjoyed it so far. And so far I'm happy with my decision.
Oh yeah. So what have you got straight into?
I'm working for Coca-Cola. So obviously everyone knows who Coca-Cola is. So I'm a territory sales manager for a region here in the Coromandel. So it's like a real summer hotspot. So it's definitely very different and very challenging in a lot of other ways. And first week was just a complete brain explosion. As to honestly, you go from being, I guess, an expert in one thing to being a complete idiot in something else. So that was definitely a massive learning curve for me. And after the first few days, I came home and remember ringing Mum and saying, "Man, I think I've made a real bad decision here. I just feel so out of depth." So, but yeah, you learn a lot, and every day and every week gets better. So let's hope that in another few weeks I'm a little bit better than what I was at the start.
And it's obviously not the kind of decision you come to overnight. So, and it was obviously like the trigger, as you've said before, was the postponement of the games to next year. So, did it just feel like it was the right thing at the right time, given everything that was going on?
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to go to Tokyo, and I knew that I could go to Tokyo if I performed like I wanted to do, and I started my season off exactly how I wanted to in Mooloolaba, and was hoping that was sort of going to continue, and obviously with everything that happened and everything be cancelled and postponed and so on, like I just really had to decide whether it was something that I could continue doing, or I mean, I could continue doing triathlon for another year, but could I continue doing it at that level that I needed to go to the Olympics and do well at the Olympics? That was the real question. And it became pretty clear pretty quickly that I didn't have what I needed to commit to that another 12 months of being how I needed to be to get a result at the Olympics that I was proud of. So essentially that's why I made the decision I did, because yeah, I still enjoy doing triathlon, and yeah, of course I'd love to just continue to train, especially as it's coming into summer now, every day and just cruise around. But it wasn't about just doing it to cruise around. It was doing it to go to the Olympics and get a really good result. So, and I just didn't have that commitment and drive and sacrifice in me anymore. And at the end of the day, that's okay. And it was just time to move on and do something else. My best year was 2017. I was like going really, really well. Was on podium in Hamburg. I was fourth in a few races, fifth in other races, as 10th in the World Series, I think, that year. And that was like a really good, consistent year for me. And then, unfortunately, I had hernia surgery end of that year, and then I had Commonwealth Games, which I went really well at, but wasn't quite what I wanted. And then I got a stress fracture in 2018, and that sort of it took me a year to get better or to fix that before I actually started coming right. And that was sort of the end of 2019 and early this year. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I think if the Olympics weren't postponed, I obviously would have kept going and would have been really gunning to be there. But yeah, it was just it was too much for me to continue on.
Like you said, 2017, there was a great string of results, and that World Cup win in Madrid must have felt like a huge platform to kick on from as well. And then Yeah, the injury. So, and then again this year started so well with Malulaba, and then it kind of all went to hell again so quickly after. So that's like a couple of times where have you felt, absolutely primed to do something special, and then the kind of rug's been pulled out underneath you a bit?
Yeah, I mean, like, this time, you know, I feel like, yeah, COVID has affected it and so forth, but this was my decision to stop, I guess. And so, whereas a stress fracture wasn't my decision, I would have kept going if I could have. So,
Yeah.
in that sense, it's different. It's the same, but it's different, because I chose it this time, and I knew how well I raced in the little bar, and I was happy with that. And at the end of the day, I don't have anything else to prove to myself or to anyone else. Like, it is what it is. I may not have had the best results throughout my career, but I've had some really good results. I've done some really cool things. And that for me was, that was more than what I ever dreamed of doing when I first started doing triathlon when I was, 17, 18 years old. So I guess I looked at it in that way rather than what could have been. And yeah, I guess that's how I always thought.
Is it funny, like reading some of the sort of news stories when you announced your retirement, and a couple of them refer to you as a veteran triathlete at the age of 32? Does that seem kind of strange? Is it sort of testament to how much you've packed into, and also then somewhere like Malulaba beating the likes of Hayden and the new generation coming through? That must have felt really satisfying as well.
Yeah, I guess I certainly am not the oldest on the circuit. There's definitely guys that are older than me, but I have been around for a fair amount of time, and certainly, the last few years, you're looking at the results sheet or the start sheet, and it's got bloody everyone's birth dates next to it, and everyone's in the high 90s or 2000s, and then you've got the few outliers that are like 80s, and it's like, oh man, like
They start to
this
stand
is
out a bit, these
crazy.
80s,
So,
don't
yeah, absolutely. You're like, oh, 80s, who's he? Like, what the hell? What is he doing here? So yeah, it definitely. I mean, for me, the age thing didn't really matter. Like, if I could keep going at 40 and be the best, I still would. Why not? But I certainly did know that my body wasn't as resilient as it was when I was a bit younger. And I always laugh because I used to train with Chris Gemmell a lot when he was at the end of his career, and I used to give him so much stick about, getting out of bed in the morning 30 or 40 minutes before we had to get out the door, because he had to limber around and get himself ready to go. And I used to roll out of bed 5 minutes before we were out the door, and bang, I'm straight into a run. And I was like, yo, man, like, what are you up? And I'm like that now. I was like, a run session at 10 a.m. I'm up at 7:30. I'm having a coffee. I'm walking around the house trying to get ready for this bloody run session. Whereas back in the day, it was just straight out the door, no worries. So it definitely had to change a lot of things, as I got older. Body just couldn't handle it anymore.
And Chris was obviously like quite a mentor sort of figure to you in those early days, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And still this is my last race. Like, I talk to him a lot, and like I can be open and honest. He said to me before Malulaba, he's like, make sure you win. This might be the only race you do this year. And this was the conversation I had with him literally 2 hours before the race started. And it's just, he's always been someone that I've always talked to about stuff. He's always been there for the crap times. He's always been there for the good times. So yeah, he certainly had. And I trained with him a lot when it was, when he was training too. So he's certainly someone that's, been very influential in my career, and still a very good friend, outside of sport, even though we have arguments and all the time, but we always want the best for each other, and we always, I think it's just a great relationship we've always had.
Yeah, anyone that you've spent that much time with, I guess, is a special kind of bond. And you and Bevan and Chris were the New Zealand team in London 2012, right? How was that as a first Olympic experience, and the build up? And were you a bag of nerves, or were you sort of young and pumped up and feeling no fear?
A bit of both, I think. I think the one thing is like I didn't know what to expect, so that I had no idea what to expect. I'd been training with Chris pretty much all the way up to it, and then I went and trained with Bevan for the last wee while, and very, very different in the way they trained and were around training or around a pre-Olympic build-up as such. So that was really cool. And
Go on then. What were the obvious sort of differences between the two? What were their approaches?
Well, I guess like I hadn't spent a lot of time training with Bevan, but I spent a lot of time training with Chris, so we knew each other really, really well. And Chris was always pretty relaxed and pretty chill, and we just did our training and stuff. Whereas Bevan, being a double Olympic medalist, going into London, he has a lot more pressure on him because he was that good. And so I think he was just a lot more, not like angry or not like, I don't know, just ruthless. He's just super ruthless. Like if it didn't suit him, he wouldn't do it. And that was just that because, that's just how he has been. That's how he's got his results. And
he was on his path.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I still remember that one of the funniest was walking. We were going to the, Chris wasn't there because he was at altitude, and so he was coming down really late. And so Bevan and I were going to the pre-race like media thing that we had to do for NZOC and Olympic Committee and so on. And so Bevan and I were in a bloody car for however long, and it did take a long time. And I was surprised that Bevan even agreed to doing it, but I think he felt that he needed to because I was the young one on the team and I would otherwise be the only one going. So anyway, like an hour and a half later, we're like literally one security check away from being in the building we need to be. Like we got into the village, we got through all these stages, we're in the media centre, and Bevan just, as we were about to go through that last security thing, he just lost it, like took all the stuff, turned around and got the train and went home. And I was like, oh crap, what's going on here? And then I went into this media thing, like just me, first time Olympics, and everyone's like, oh, where's Bevan? And I'm like, like no comment. Like, what do you say? So yeah, just funny things like that, and that's just like he was. He just like got to a point where he's like, nah, I've had enough of this, and just that was it. Didn't care. I'm out. See ya. Yeah. And so yeah, just very different. And I think whereas Chris would have been, he would have thought about this whole process a lot like before and figured out a way of doing it better or so on. So that's just differences in those two, I guess.
Yeah, but you waded in with a solid no comment, did you? As your
I think like I remember them asking, and I remember saying, oh yeah, like nah, yeah, like no comment, like. I remember them, and then the media guy showing, oh yeah, Bevan's had something that he needed to do and he couldn't be here. Well, yeah. yeah, of course he did. So yeah, it's pretty funny.
And were you guys staying in the athletes' village or out of there?
We stayed out of the village in London. We stayed out of the village and then in a hotel just close to the village. So we weren't actually staying. I stayed in the village after the race,
right?
But not before.
Yeah, and those first impressions of kicking around the athlete village with some of the biggest names in sport, and just it must be an incredible place to experience.
Yeah, it definitely is. Like, especially afterwards. Before, I wasn't in there, so you're just doing your thing like a normal race. But afterwards, like, didn't have to train, didn't have to do anything. I think I went out for 5 days straight and got home. Went out every night and got home when the sun was coming up every morning. So like, yeah, it was just a crazy time because you could do that. There's always things on and always people wanting to go out and do things and experience it. So I definitely made the most of it. And I think I did race Stockholm, I think 2 weeks after the Olympics. And so I, did the London Olympics, did a five night bender at the Olympics, then had probably 1 or 2 nights off and then went to Ibiza with my friends for 3 nights. That was another 3 or 4 day bender. And then went straight to Stockholm. And I think I had about 5 days before the race in Stockholm. And one of the funniest stories, I think I still remember booking my hotel there for the week when I was probably quite hungover. And I booked it at a maternity ward motel at the hospital. So I turned up there broken after 4 nights at Ibiza, and just was my motel was full of like baby like kids and damaged people everywhere. I just yeah,
Well,
it was a really funny story, but
at least it was like a
yeah.
nice sort of calming atmosphere if you needed some mothering after 3 days in Ibiza.
Yeah. Like every day at breakfast in the mornings, there's just women wheeling in their babies in like the plastic containers, and I'm like, oh, what have I done? Like, I'm wheeling my bike through the hall, and they're wheeling their babies in plastic containers. So yeah, that was an interesting time, and I really enjoyed it. And I didn't race very well in Stockholm, as you can imagine, but I was still turned up, and that was that was the best part. Yeah.
So coming out of London, how was it? Was it kind of nice, pressure off first games? Obviously, Chris and Bevan finished just outside of the top 10. So,
Yeah, obviously London was insane. Like I don't think I could hear myself breathing around that whole course like the whole time. And I obviously would have liked to have raced better than what I did, but I didn't race terrible either. It was sort of like an okay performance, nothing good, nothing bad. It was just a great experience. And of course, I was like, right, I want to go to the next one. I want to do better at the next one, and so forth. And yeah, it was. I always wanted to go to the Olympics as a kid, and that was, I guess, an achievement in itself. But after that, you're like, all right, I'm not happy with like a 30th or whatever it was, and you want to do better all the time. So that was, I guess, the next goal was the next Olympics straight away, and obviously there's Commonwealth Games in between that and so on. So the goals never really ended. It was just a constant roll of one goal after the next.
So between then and Rio 2016, a lot kind of changed within New Zealand sport. Like the triathlon setup there as well kind of shifted into very much more like a high performance sort of setup, right? How was that like being on the inside of the kind of the change in mentality, I suppose, of the actual kind of Kiwi setup itself?
Yeah, I mean, it's I guess fairly common knowledge that I disagree with a lot of it through those times, and I hated it through times, and I got in trouble a lot because I told them I didn't like it and so on. But I think all in all, what was set up in Cambridge, where I live now, is great, and getting everyone in one place to train together is great, and everyone needs each other to train better because that's what everyone's doing, and it works really well. You always have athletes, pushing each other daily, and I think that's great. But it was more about like the control of what you can and can't do within the environment, which was really bad to begin with. So I was very open and honest about that, and I wasn't in the program. I was in another program constantly, because as soon as there was too much control and you had to do this, you had to do that, I didn't want to be a part of it. So overall, I think the concept of having a high performance center and a base here in Cambridge is great, and it's working really well. We're developing some really good young athletes, and it's amazing training here. We've got great facilities. They're only going to get better. There's a lot of athletes. It's just a great place to be. So, and the programs learnt from those mistakes, and I guess moving forward and what they're doing now and onwards is hopefully on the track of giving athletes a chance to train together, but also to be like individual and do what they need to do rather than just what everyone has to do together.
Yeah, I suppose it was something that was somewhat inevitable after the changing of the guard from Bevan and Chris, and like once those guys had moved on, that was when this new setup was introduced, right? Because they probably wouldn't have they were already established athletes and doing their thing. So were you in that awkward position of like you were kind of the new guard but close to the old guard, and that left you somewhat straddling both worlds a bit?
Yeah, and I think it's like it went earlier than like Bevan and Chris. Is like Hamish, Hamish getting a gold medal, then Bevan, and then Bevan again, and then so there was a lot of like expectation for us just to constantly keep getting medals. Like it was like, oh, why aren't you guys getting medals? Are you guys crap? Like, no, we're not crap. Like it's just really hard. Like what do you mean? Like it's really hard. Like but you guys got medals and all the Olympics before this, and you guys are getting 10th or 20th. Like you guys are crap. It's like, like, you just don't get it. It's really hard. It's got harder and harder.
So there was
more
a
nations
sense
doing it. There's more people doing it. Yeah, well, it just became like that. It was like, oh, you guys are just crap. You're only like 15th in the world. Like, what are you doing? Like, you know?
Right.
So I don't know. Like that was hard at the start, especially for me, because I knew, like, I was, I guess, in the middle. And there was a few athletes, like, in the middle as well, that were younger than Bevan and Chris and Hamish, obviously, but also like old enough to still have been racing. Like, I never raced with Hamish, but I did race with Bevan and Chris. So, I was sort of in the middle of that. And then I did race with some of the guys who are racing now, were like juniors, I guess, when I was racing, like early seniors. So I was in that middle phase where it was really hard for the last two Olympics for us. Like, just really hard. It was constantly like, on the back foot until we sort of, start to build back up to, what we want to be, or what everyone wants to be. And that's to win races.
And you and Andrea were kind of traveling together somewhat outside of the system right at the end of last year. And have you been hanging out with her a bit through this year and through lockdown and so on? Is she around?
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously known Andrea for a long time, and I have a huge amount of respect for what she's done and what she's gone through. And yeah, I guess we all do. I mean, it's just Andrea. She's just insane. There's no words for her sometimes. Like, the things that she's done, the things that she's been through, and then the things that she continues to do. So I always stay in contact with her, and I've seen her. She was there in Malulabar racing this year, and I've seen her, I think, a couple of times during winter. I've gone on to Christchurch a couple of times and seen her. So, and I've seen her in a couple of weeks when she gets married, actually. So that's going to be pretty cool. And yeah, we're still very good friends and talk a lot. And I think that will never change, regardless of me doing triathlon or not.
Yeah, well, that wedding's going to be emotional for many reasons, huh?
Yeah, it is. And I have the very lucky job of being the MC, which is pretty cool. Wow. But also really hard because, there's just so much that's gone on. And so, yeah, it is what it is. It's going to be an awesome day for Andrea and Ollie. And I can't wait, obviously, to be a part of it.
And then, and Andrea was in Rio with you, right? That just to go back and get another dose of Olympic stories. The build up to Rio, like qualification and so on. How was that doing it for a second time?
Yeah, it was different again. Like a lot of like before I had actually qualified, I changed coaches to Laurent, and then the whole situation changed when he passed away, and that made it I really wanted to make the Olympics even more after that, and the first race that we did in early 2016, Andrea obviously was already qualified. I qualified myself, and that was really awesome for me, and also knowing that I could support Andrea in going to her third Olympics. So yeah, it was a very different sort of feeling, I guess, to my first Olympics, but still very satisfying to nail a automatic qualification and to know that I was going to another Olympic Games.
Yeah, and as far as iconic race settings go, from London to Copacabana Beach, pretty hard to top. Good memories from Rio?
Yeah, they were cool. They were very different. I don't have any crazy stories like I did in London. I definitely enjoyed London a lot more than Rio. And that was more the fact that Rio just, like, the place is crazy and sure, like, it is just crazy. But I just didn't get to do as much, mainly, two reasons. We raced on like the third last day of the Olympics, and Andrea raced on the second last day. And so I pretty much hung out with her all the way until she raced anyway. So we literally only had the Saturday night after her race and then the Sunday night closing. So that was, the amount of time that we, could go out or do anything. So, I didn't really experience the same, in London, I was finished in the middle. So I had a week of like destroying my body, whereas I only had like one night, and it was, when I went to the closing ceremony, it rained.
And then just sort of looking back then, like further into like the start of your career, one of your first ITU races was in Hungary, 2007 Duathlon World Championships. There were the Brownlee brothers on there, Richard Murray, Mario Mola. how much of those kind of races do you remember, like those first international travels and so on, and you know, being among those kind of people as your careers progressed as well?
Yeah, it is like pretty funny to see some photos like back in the day of like, Mario and Richard and Vincent and the Brownies, like we're all pretty young and just kicking about. So yeah, I've raced them for many, many years. And yeah, it's always cool to look back at them. And I know I started more like as a duathlete. I was never a really good swimmer, so I started more on the duathlon side, I guess, similar to Richard, and then moved towards the triathlon as it progressed. But yeah, it's quite funny looking at some of those photos and stuff from back in the day.
The sport has obviously changed a lot over that time as well. What do you see as like some of the most positive things that have happened, that have changed within the sport over the time you've been racing?
I guess it's just become a lot more like professional. It's like your job, it's your full-time job. Like there's a circuit that you can race, every weekend, whether it's German Grand Prix, French Grand Prix, not IT, World Triathlon or World Cups or Continental Cups. Like there's just so many options, and that's just just grown consistently from back in the day. So I think that's great. Like you can really make a living out of it, and yeah, it can be your full-time job. Whereas I think back in the day it was, people still needed other things to get by and to live and make money.
I guess like places, new race venues and things as well that have come on that perhaps 10 years ago you wouldn't have necessarily had a race in Abu Dhabi or even China, maybe, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, like racing in these big cities on these crazy circuits and so forth, like it's changed a lot. Like the sport's grown a lot. It has a lot more presence within the world of sport, and I think that's obviously it's great. And can only imagine that it's just going to get better and better as the sport progresses.
What would you say, like, your favorite, looking back? Have you got a kind of couple of races that you look back on particularly fondly? Not necessarily just the result, but like either the course or the setup itself.
Yeah, probably. Like, I mean, Hamburg for sure has always been a race. Like I watched, I was a junior in Hamburg, I think in like 2007, watching Daniel Unger. Yeah, Danny, he won the world champs that year. And I was like a junior, and like it was just insane. The crowds were crazy, and it was great. And then getting third in 2017 with the same sort of crowds, like it was quite a different. Like I, would only have dreamt of that. Obviously I would love to have won, but just to get on the podium itself was good enough for me, if I'm honest. So yeah, that was definitely one of the races. And then probably the other one was like Auckland World Series, when we used to have them. Like the course was just crazy. Obviously having a world big race like that at home was always great, and I always seemed to race really well on that sort of course. So those were definitely two of the best. And Mooloolaba, and this year was again one, just because I executed the race exactly how I wanted to, and I was just really proud of how I raced and how I prepared everything before that race. So yeah, I mean there's a ton of races there for different reasons, but those are probably the three that stand out.
Yeah. And the beer shower in Hamburg, were they doing that in 2017 as well?
And yeah, I did that. Yeah, that was good. Apart from having wet shoes, beer smelling shoes for a few days. But yeah, I mean, I think I still have that. I still have the big glass somewhere. So
oh yeah,
yeah, I'll keep that forever.
It was who was it? Mario and Jake with you up there, right?
Yeah, it was. So yeah, not terrible guys to be on the podium with.
Absolutely. And all right, so on the flip side, any like races that just you were just not feeling at any point, like that you look back and like, God, if I hadn't been there, that would have been much better. That would have been a much better call.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, there's a lot of races like that you just like, why did I even turn up? And I mean, I learned a lot, like I've, throughout my time, like a lot of coaching, oh yeah, we'll just train through this race and like we're peaking for that one in a couple of weeks, but we'll just train through this one. And as a young kid, you're like, yeah, absolutely. Like, no worries. Like, I can do that. Get to the race and you just get hammered because you're just cooked and you just got nothing to give. And you're like, finish the race and you're 50th or 55th or something. And you're like, what was the point in that? Like, I just was chasing my ass the whole day. And so throughout my career, I learned, all right, I'm never, like, towards the end of our last fair bit of time, like, I'm never turning up to a race with an excuse of, like, I'm just training through this. Like, if you turn up, race. Like, otherwise, just don't go. Because, of course, you're always, doing a race to, maybe get some training benefit to do another race and so on. And that makes sense. But you're not really, like, I guess, training. Well, I was never really training through races in the end because it's too hard. Like, the quality of athletes in these races now is just too hard to expect to go there and train through the race and go well. Like, maybe some people can, and like, great, good on them, but definitely not me. I had to turn up and I had to be ready to go. So,
Have you been kind of keeping track of, the couple of races that have been back since the end of this year? Have you, Vincent's 3 golds, he's looking like a bit nailed on for an Olympic podium at the moment.
Yeah, I have watched a few. I mean, I haven't watched any of them, but I've seen the results. And yeah, I mean, he's clearly, like, all round an amazing athlete, but you can never be so sure. It's the Olympics; anything can happen. At the moment, of course, he's definitely a hot contender for a medal at the Olympics, and that's great. But you still have to turn up and race on the day. I think, I've spoken to Hamish a lot about this, and he was exactly the same before Sydney Olympics. He was number 1 in the world. He was expected to turn up and just win, and he got 30th or whatever it was. And that can happen to anyone in the sport, because one little mistake here or there, or one misfortune or something, and you're out. So, for sure, pre-race, pre-Olympic year form is great, but turning up and getting it done on the day is definitely another thing. So, yeah, if I do hope that we can, the world can continue on and the Olympics can go ahead, and it'll be great to watch from a different perspective.
And next year now will be the first mixed relay. Was that an event you always got into, like, coming the day after the individual race in Hamburg and places that, was it something that you found quite easy to get yourself up for?
Yeah, the ones that, I didn't do a lot. I definitely haven't done as many as others, but I have done a few, and I guess done it right. And some we've done. I think we're 3rd in Hamburg one year, and in the first year that it happened in Lausanne, we were 2nd or something like that. So, I've done a few, and I've definitely enjoyed them. They're definitely a very different ball game, and I definitely needed to practice a lot more of them if I wanted to be good at them, because, yeah, it's just nearly a different sport, like, when you're doing them. So, I enjoy them, and I think it's great. Like, the whole team aspect obviously is amazing, and it just brings a different different vibe to the event. So it's really cool that we can have another opportunity at the Olympics for triathlon, especially in a mixed relay type of sport.
We've been trying to get, like, nicknames for the teams as a result of, like, the Belgian Hammers and so on. Talking to Katie Zafira, she came up with the 4 of July for the US team and so on. Was there ever, like, a nickname that went with the Kiwi team, or was it fairly traditional all black type stuff?
Nah, we're probably, if I was going to call it a team, I'd just say we're the Tri Blacks, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
But if you ask Taylor, he'd probably say it's full gack. A gizzy word. He's from Gisborne in New Zealand, and it's just something he uses all the time. So
right.
We never really had a name. But yeah, I'm going to go with Tri Blacks.
All right. Nice. I like that. And we were also, I was kind of charged with trying to find the intro music for the various teams. I don't know what your musical, this was what we sort of settled for in the end for the Kiwis. See what you think. Let me get it on here. Hold on. I'm sure you'll know it, but you know that one?
Is it a bit of 660, isn't it? The name?
Shapeshifter was,
Is that Shapies?
yeah. I don't know.
I was wrong, wasn't I? 660 or Shapeshifter, any of those two.
That'll do, will it?
Yeah, I probably 660's got some really good songs too that would probably fit. Or Shapeshifter. You know, either or.
All right, good to know.
You might have to remove that. I can't believe I got that wrong. Nah, jokes. Leave it in. It was all a joke.
Is that so? What's your kind of, what's been keeping you sane during lockdown and without the usual traveling and so on?
What kept me busy? Not much really. Like, I was just home in Cambridge. Luckily I had my dog with me. He got sick of me towards the end because we wanted to go for like 2 walks a day, and yeah, I mean, he probably hated it. But I don't know. I just trained during lockdown. Really, try to sneak a few swims in when I could. I did another crazy thing that every triathlete seemed to be doing, and that was ride 200k. So I did that one day. That wasn't as much as I thought, as fun as I thought it was going to be. So I didn't do that again. I don't know. I just try to keep myself busy doing random stuff. I can't even really remember what I did.
Was that comfortably the furthest you've ridden?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. I probably before that was probably 160, 170. But this was like 200k solo, because obviously the old bloody isolation. We weren't allowed to go riding with anyone that wasn't living in your house. So it was like,
couldn't talk
out the door by yourself. Yeah, so that was a good 7 hours on the bike one day. That ticked one day off. I don't actually really know what I did. Like, mowed the lawns a couple of times. Did some gardening, cleaned my room. I don't know, just anything I could. To be fair, I had the worst sleeping pattern possible. I think I was going to bed at like 2 a.m. I don't know why I needed to stay up late, because I don't know. Maybe, and then I was waking up at like 11.
Yeah.
So
with your body missing, going through like random time zones and stuff.
Yeah, I think just because like I was just bored, so I just stayed up all night and then just slept half the day, and then just continued that. So yeah, I don't know.
So it's normal working life for you now, but you're going to keep training and competing in other ways, do you reckon?
Yeah, definitely will. I mean, at the moment I'm reasonably unfit. I haven't swum since since I retired. Not because I don't want to, I've just been really busy with work and trying to like get my head around, learning a lot of new things and so on. So I've been running a little bit and cycling a little bit. I'm doing a mountain bike race on the weekend. I'm just kind of ticking along at the moment, to be honest. But I definitely want to get into, I guess, more of a routine once I'm more settled into the work lifestyle, and I can make time to enjoy some training again. But at the moment, just kind of doing what I can when I can, and it's quite good. I am at my heaviest I've ever been, and that's 67 kgs. So it's as soon as I get to near 70, I'm straight back on the training regime. That's for sure.
Nice. Yeah, well, other priorities, right? Settling into getting to grips with the office politics and so on. That's gonna take up some time. Figure out what's what and who's who, and get your name on your mug and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, no, it has. I mean, just learning people's names in the office is enough for me for like a couple of weeks' work, and then trying to figure out what I'm actually doing on my job. That's taken another week, and then trying to figure out all the things that I've messed up in the first week, how to fix them. That's another week. So I mean, it's going to take me a while to actually get into some sort of routine. But I'll get back into it. I want to run a fast marathon at some point. I will do an Ironman at some point. And this is all just for fun. This is not, going fast. It's, I guess, how I'll look at it. Well, I do want to do a marathon reasonably fast, because I think I can still do enough training for that. But I think the way I look at it now is the challenge is going to be how fast I can go with how little training. And that's going to be, the challenge moving forward.
Yeah. Have you got a time in mind, or too early to say?
For a marathon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to go under 2:20. Nothing crazy, like as in, crazy, but still like a decent challenge.
Cool.
So yeah, I mean, we'll give it a go.
Are you going to tell, do the people in the office know about your, other life, as it were? Are you going to kind of go around getting some sponsorship and stuff and be like, look, if I get under 2.5 hours, you're going to have to seriously sponsor me? And they're like, 2.5 hours? Nah.
Yeah.
Do they all know?
Yeah, my office, everyone does know what I have done in the past life. So yeah, I think that we know athletic ability challenges coming my way from any of them anytime soon, that's for sure. But yeah, it was quite funny because
they will be a bit one-sided.
Yeah, exactly. So, but no, I've got a really cool team that I work with, and they've been really, I mean, as I said to them when I applied, because I applied for the job just like anyone else would, and did all the interview process just like anyone else did. I didn't, know anyone that, just gave me the job. I just did it like a normal person, and I think, I was kind of scared because I'd never applied for a job before. I'd never done a job interview, never done any of that. So, I don't know. Obviously I did okay because I got the job, but, they've all been very helpful with me because, turn up the first day and I'm like, I've never had a job. I have no idea what I'm doing. So you're going to have to teach me. So they've all been very helpful and patient with me, which has been pretty cool.
Well, brilliant. Congratulations for getting it sorted so quickly. That's
I definitely haven't got it sorted. But I'm getting there.
Yeah, well, and as far as ways to bookend a racing career, then that win in Mooloolaba is going to be a nice memory to keep with you, right? Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I always joke around with especially some of the athletes here in Cambridge and the Kiwi athletes. I'm like, you're only as good as your last race. And I won my last race. So it's pretty funny. I always bring it up especially now when I go training with them or whatever, and I'm my slow one hanging on the back, and they always, give me a bit of stick, but I'm like, hey, don't you guys just remember, you're only as good as your last race, and I beat them all.
Swinging behind you on the bike, right?
Yeah, as soon as I say that, the pace seems to increase substantially, so I may not be going on any of their training sessions again.
Yeah. Well, it's been great to catch up with you. Thanks for coming on, Ryan. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me.